that's unique. It's hard to pick up. He's got multiple pitches that get swing and misses. He's a pretty fierce competitor. He's at the top of a rotation for a reason, and one of the most dynamic left-handed starters you can imagine in baseball. So that sets up for a big challenge for us. I think you got to compete from pitch one. You don't know when the mistake's coming. There's mistakes in there for every pitcher, and if he doesn't make too many of them, you better maximize the ones that he does. But staying inside the strike zone, trying to avoid the chase is going to be key. And at the same time, I don't think he's going to limp his way into the outing. I think he's going to come, pretty ready. He's rested. He's got some dynamic pitches, so it's going to be a great competition.
Right here in the middle.
Just in your experience, AJ, do you think making a first postseason start makes a difference at all? Or do you think
Yeah, I hope it makes him nervous as can be, and he's a mess. That's what I hope. I don't know. I mean, I think the adrenaline there'll be something to it, whether he can harness it. But these guys that are elite, these guys that are special, they find a way to settle in and be themselves. If it does and it impacts them, then it should be to our advantage. But I don't think you can go in hoping for him to be scared or hoping for him to be nervous. He's Chris Sale. He knows his stuff is good. He's going to attack us. We got a good lineup against him, though. I want to give him credit for being Chris Sale. I don't want to give him credit for being able to get through our lineup very easily. So we're going to make it tough on him.
David.
Looking briefly ahead to Game 2, what is Keuchel's experience on playing defense? What has that contributed to his success, and how do you coach defense to a pitcher? Do they have to have it once they're out here, or do you?
He's a very gifted pitcher in a lot of different ways, and Dallas takes pride in a couple things the most. Number one is execution of his game plan. He's meticulous in trying to make pitches where he wants to, and he's very hard on himself when he misses by a fraction. So, and also with that, I think he knows, he can get some extra outs with his glove. He can get to more balls. We don't talk about range with pitchers very often, but he's got tremendous range. It allows us to play our infielders back a little bit because he can cover the bunt. We can play our gaps in the middle because Dallas can handle some balls back at him. He lands so balanced when he makes his delivery. He's able to be athletic enough on the mound. But, we hit a lot of balls back to him. We had to do a lot of PFP stuff. The pitchers that can handle their position, field their position, cover first base, which I know sounds very simple at this level. The guys that can not give away any outs by being able to handle the ball. And we've seen it in other games. When they can't handle the ball, it's very difficult for them. Dallas is elite, so he's Gold Glover.
Brian.
Considering Verlander and Keuchel don't give up a lot of stolen bases, do you think how far will that go to help neutralize their running game?
Yeah, the base running is going to be key in this series, I think, on both sides because we're playing in two small ballparks, or at least most of the park is small here. Most of the park at Fenway is small. So it's not about base stealing as much as it is base running. I think Verlander and Keuchel both do a great job of controlling the running game on the base stealing part of it. I think the next phase of that is going to be controlling 90 feet when the ball's in play. And how aggressive can you be when you're facing elite pitching and giving outs on the bases away, or at least taking too many risks on the bases. So it's a fine line. And I think controlling stolen bases is only the first part of it. The outfielders are going to play a key role this series on both sides on the first to third, because when you get opportunities to put pressure on your opponent by taking an extra 90 feet, it's a lot in the playoffs, and they're one of the better base running teams because they don't give in, they don't concede. Just taking the next base, they're looking for the next one. We saw that firsthand last week. They're very good at it. So our outfielders, I think of it more as an infield awareness competition than I do necessarily even controlling the stolen base. Stolen base will be controlled by not letting them on, not letting their base stealers on, or by being quick to the plate.
Tyler.
AJ, in your month or so around Verlander, what have you known about? What have you discovered about him that maybe you didn't know before, both on the field and otherwise?
Yeah, I didn't know him at all. I'd never met him other than competing across the way, a handshake here or there. But he's a continuous learner, and I think that was interesting for me to learn about him. First thing is how does he improve his changeup? How do we play defense? What advantages can he take? Whether he works with players on about improving his sign sequencing from him and the catcher, to game planning with Strami and our advanced team. He doesn't come across as knowing it all. And after 10, 12, 13 years, you'd expect him to have this program in place where It's the way he does it, but he does it. He tweaks his every move to try to get better, and that's been a nice thing to learn about him. I think the second part is he just wants to be one of the guys. He didn't come in making too many demands and trying to be the center of attention. He wanted to blend in, and in this clubhouse, it was nice to see someone with such a big personality, so many accolades, so much positive performances in this game. He came in and just wanted to be one of the guys, and that worked perfectly with this group.
Any last ones for AJ? David?
Any difficult decisions on coming up with the final roster? McHugh left off, McCullers on. Any other tough choices that came down to the wire for you?
Well, the pitching, the biggest decision of 11 pitchers versus 12 in a 5-game series was the first decision, and that impacted Tyler White as the extra position player that we went. We have 2 days off if we go 5 games in this series. Having the extra length pitcher in Colin McHugh was not. Didn't seem like it was as good as an advantage as having the extra position player that can move around the field and the right-handed bat and Tyler White. What the roles are going to be, is going to be another tough decision that moves forward. I look on the card today, and we really have 2 starters listed. We have Verlander, who's pitching today, and Keuchel, who's pitching tomorrow. We're not going to worry about Game 3 and Game 4 until we have to, and so that leaves a deep bullpen that I could use virtually any pitcher that's there: Peacock, McCullers, Morton, and then our primary bullpen. So, I think in some ways that decision within that group was even tougher, is going to be even tougher than necessarily setting the roster. The tough conversation with Tyler Clippard, who's pitching the World Series. Tough conversation with Tony Sipp, who's been here a number of years and has started to turn the corner, getting better. Tough conversation with Mike Fiers, who is as tough as he was at the end of the year, as tough a season as he had at the end of the year. In the middle part of this year, he was a key contributor to us stabilizing our rotation when most of them were on the DL. So it's never easy to leave veterans off the roster. And now that we have the 25-man set that we're not going to change, we have to decide how to deploy our best guys.
Tyler?
When you guys got Justin, you were already heading for the playoffs. Everybody knew that. What kind of sense have you gotten from him about how important this stage is to him? And he's obviously done a lot in his career, but never won the World Series. How important this opportunity is?
Yeah, I don't know about this start in particular, but just the decision to become a Houston Astro, he came because he wants to win. And he made that perfectly clear to me on the phone the night we traded for him. And he made it perfectly clear when he got here. He wants to win, and he believes that he can win here. And I think that message is loud and clear to me. It's loud and clear to his teammates that he's about winning. So, this stage, he loves this stage. What player wouldn't? And especially with someone who's experienced it before, and bigger starts than this. This is a big start for him and a big start for our team, but he's also pitched in the World Series. He's pitched on higher stages than even what we're providing for him here. So he's into it. He loves being here. He loves his teammates. He loves the vibe that we have on our team. And I would bet that he loves being center stage Game 1 of this series on a home start, in front of the fans that are excited to have him here.
Here, Mark.
AJ, one quick question now to Baseball America says he named him the MLB Player of the Year. It's first of many of these awards that are going to be coming in. Some thoughts about that?
Yeah, he might need to build a new trophy case for a couple of these awards that are coming in, and he deserves every bit of the attention that he gets around the league and the awards that are going to keep coming to him. But the best part of him is, and he mentioned this to our group. We had our advance meeting. We were preparing for the Red Sox. It's about winning for him, and he wants to win. And these awards are great. The batting titles are great. The potential MVP is great, and I think it'll mean even more if he can do it on a championship team. And that mindset, that approach is so cool to have when you're the manager and you have one of your best players be one of your best examples. That's a dream come true.
Okay. Thanks, AJ.
Yep.
Dallas Keuchel will be in at 11:30.
Put those under in case we need it. Put those under in case we need it. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I told you, you gotta go window 28, pick up your window first, and then you go after the ball. Oh, yeah. You need your credential to do it first, so window 28 is your first stop. Yeah, it's just short of the
Yeah, I guess, you know, I have a terrible, the older I get, the worse it is. But I also have the most key fob. Really like figure out. And so then the guys with the tires, they got moved around. So sitting up there, just sitting there. I lost it, and I got it back. So,
Jim Fisher. Yeah, that, he's my guy. But there's a better one. Oh, one night, I was super she just wrote me out for this.
Just totally.
And I was in California, and she was in Florida, so I was early.
doesn't get most of the 50-50 ball.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, we're gonna get started with Dallas Keuchel. We'll start with Brian on the left.
Hey, Dallas,
I'm not answering questions for Brian.
I'll go easy on you. Did you expect that when Verlander came, and especially as well as he pitched, that he'd probably get the game one assignment here? And if so, just what are your thoughts on getting the ball in game two?
I mean, I knew when he came over, it was going to be a pretty good rotation, and I was pretty outspoken with what our need was and what the guys in the clubhouse wanted. But at that point, that was the last thing on my mind. It was more about trying to get back on the winning track and making sure we were ready to go come playoff time. And I think probably the last one or two starts and most relevant in Texas is when I knew it was either going to be me or him 1 and 2. And I mean, we couldn't have picked a better guy for game one, just his experience. And I mean, I pitched game 3 in the division series in 2015. So, I mean, that was literally the last thing on my mind. But I'm happy to pitch at home and in front of this beautiful crowd.
Dallas, how do you feel like your experience in 2015 will help you going into this postseason?
I think it's going to have a lasting effect, and just to draw comparison to what the feelings I felt and how nervous I was going into to not only the game 3 start but the wild card start as well, and that's gonna give me a lot of advantage. I feel like, and this crowd is electric, especially with the roof closed. It feels like there's about 90,000 people instead of 45,000, and I told some of the guys for the first times, I said, get ready because you're gonna need some earplugs. I wasn't able to talk to the guys next to me on the bench. It was just we were just in silence, just listening to the crowd and listening to the gameplay on the field. So it's gonna be loud, but it's gonna be exciting, and I'm grateful that we got some experience in 2015, and hopefully that'll carry us to the championship series.
Dallas, after what you kind of touched on 2015, after having been through that, how do you look at this team and the chances it has to really make a great run, deep run?
I think we have as good a chance as anybody, and I mean, when you really break it down, it took Cleveland 22, 23 wins in a row to catch us, and that they're the number 1 seed, but we're no slouch either, and I think we match up well with the Red Sox. They have a really good team, and they won the East for a reason. But I like our chances, and from the start of spring training on, everybody started talking about 2017 playoffs, and that was for a reason. Everybody knew we were going to be good. All we had to do was just put it together, and I mean, we did. So added a few pieces along the way, and now we're sitting here talking about the division series.
In Dallas, Major League pitchers mostly like the routine, 4 days off, 5 days off. Any concerns that you're going to be able to pitch with 8, 9 days rest?
No, I mean, I felt pretty good. I mean, I only threw a 3-inning simulated game in Boston the last day of the year, but everything checked off what I wanted to get done, and felt good. So I just chalk it up to a little bit more fresh than usual, and I'm sure I'll be a little bit more exhausted come game time tomorrow, just because of how much energy and the adrenaline going in my body. But just drawing back on the previous experience is going to help me a little bit more than what I would have been without it.
Dallas, as a Cy Young winner, All-Star yourself, what do you look for when you see a matchup like this, Verlander and Sale, 2 guys in your class? What sort of things do you look for, just from a pitching standpoint, that you appreciate in a matchup like this?
Well, based on some of the pitching so far this postseason, I hope that Verlander's on his game, and it's been some pretty potent offenses so far. But in this matchup, I would
really expect both guys to be pitching instead of just throwing. And there's an art to pitching, and obviously I don't throw hard, but I'm a pitcher, and that's what I enjoy. And since Verlander's been over here, I think his pitching game has been at an all-time high. And he's asked me numerous questions. We've bounced questions off each other and all the other starters, and he really wants to be a better pitcher more so than having his velocity back and throwing 96, 97, 98. But Chris Sale can be that guy too, so it's really going to be a chess match here from pitch one, and I think whoever gets the edges and the corners high and low more so than the other guy, that guy's going to have the advantage, and hopefully it's JV.
Dallas, can you talk to the mood of the clubhouse compared to 2015 when you were those young guys kind of just getting into the playoffs and where you guys are now mentally?
The mood, I mean, this is the most magical time of the year, so everybody's ecstatic, and I think I had a few more dreams than I usually do in my sleep last night. I was excited, but honestly, I think the team was more excited in 15 just based on the fact that it was our first time actually doing something and getting to the postseason. This year it wasn't expected because nothing's expected in this game, but it was as close to expectations from each individual guy as a whole, in a 25-man whole, as you can imagine. And that doesn't mean that we were cocky or confident. It was just that if we each did our individual job, we were going to be sitting pretty and having a chance to be here. So for us to be here now is really something that we thought about in spring training. So for it to be here now, we don't get as excited, I guess, if that makes any sense. But come game time, it's going to be like we're our first ever game one.
Dallas, you touched on this a second ago about your fondness for pitching here. What is it about this ballpark, this environment, these fans that kind of gets you to another level in terms of your production? Because obviously you've had a long history of pitching very well in this ballpark.
Well, I think number one is the fact that a lot of the fans here know their sports. So in turn, that just makes sporting events that much better. I mean, it doesn't have to be baseball. It can be football with the Texans, or basketball with the Rockets, or even the Dynamo. I mean, everybody knows their sports here. So when they come to the ballpark, they're very knowledgeable about how the game should go and what to expect and what not. And various points in the game, you'll see fans standing up and cheering loud, or a 3-2 count, or a crucial at bat. Everybody's in the know, so that really tops number one. But two, it's just the atmosphere with the dome, and just with the orange and blue colors. I mean, orange is a very electric color, and it's hard to miss. So when we have an orange out, or a lot of fans wearing orange, especially in Keuchel's corner, it's a good feeling to have, and it just feels as close to home as it's going to feel for me, and I've enjoyed it, and it gives me that extra little boost each and every time. It really does.
To what degree is the Red Sox running game, their ability to steal bases, a concern to you going into the start tomorrow?
Well, it's not really a concern. I've known for a while how good they are at the little things in the game, and they do possess a challenge, keeping guys honest and keeping guys from stealing bags, and it's just something that we're going to have to play in the game. Hopefully I don't give up that many hits to let guys steal, but it'll be one of those things where it's just a cat and mouse game, and that's one of the beauties of baseball is you get on any way possible, air, hit, catcher's interference, something. You're liable to steal a bag if you're on the Red Sox lineup, and we've done a pretty good job ourselves with stealing bags and generating runs from that aspect of the ball game. So it's clearly on my mind. It's been talked about numerous times in the clubhouse this last 4 or 5 days, especially, and the catchers know too. So we'll be on the same page hopefully, and keep those guys honest enough to where I can maybe get a ground ball and get a double play in a crucial situation.
Any last ones for Dallas? Okay, thanks for coming in.
Thanks, guys.